General Ji-woo stood at the observation window of her office, looking out at Earth below. The blue planet turned slowly beneath the orbital defense station. Peaceful and beautiful, she had protected this world for 20 years, ever since she joined the military at 18. Now, at 42, she was the youngest supreme commander in human history. Her desk console beeped 3 times. Priority message. Ji-woo walked over and pressed her palm to the scanner. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the seal of the Galactic Coalition. Her jaw tightened. Nothing good ever came from Coalition headquarters. The message was brief. She was ordered to appear before the full Galactic Council within 72 hours. No explanation. No details. Just a summons. Ji-woo read it twice, then called her senior staff. Lieutenant Tae-min arrived first. He was young, only 26, but sharp as a knife. He had graduated top of his class at the military academy. "Ma'am? You called for me? We're going to Nexus Prime," Ji-woo said. "Get the ship ready. Small crew. We leave in 6 hours." Taemin's eyes widened. "The council station? What happened?" "I don't know yet. That's what worries me." Ambassador Hana arrived next. She was a career diplomat, 50 years old. With silver streaks in her black hair, she had been trying to improve humanity's position in the coalition for 10 years, with little success. "General, I heard about the summons. This is highly irregular. Everything about our relationship with the council is irregular," Ji-woo replied. She pulled up a star chart. "Hana, what have we done in the last month that might anger them?" Hana thought carefully. "The mining operation in the Kepler belt. We established 3 new facilities there last month. But those coordinates were in unclaimed space. We checked the charts 5 times. The Krell wanted that system," said a deep voice from the doorway. Commander Jae-ho entered, his massive frame filling the entrance. He was head of security, built like a mountain, with scars from the Mars Rebellion. "I heard rumors that the Krell Imperium filed a complaint." Ji-woo nodded slowly. "That makes sense. The Krell have blocked every human expansion effort for 2 years. They don't want us growing stronger." "Then why summon you personally?" Hana asked. "Usually they just send a diplomatic note." "Because they want to intimidate us," Jae-ho growled. "Make an example. Show the new species who's in charge." Ji-woo looked at her 3 officers. These were people she trusted with her life. "Pack for a week. Dress uniforms. We represent Earth, so we do this properly." "But Jae-ho, bring full security protocols. I don't trust the council." The journey to Nexus Prime took 40 hours through the quantum slipstream. The ship was small, a diplomatic courier vessel with minimal weapons. Ji-woo spent most of the trip reviewing files on the Galactic Council. 47 member species. Humanity was number 48, admitted only 15 years ago. The newest members always had the least power. Tae-min knocked on her cabin door. "General, we're approaching the station." Ji-woo joined him on the bridge. Nexus Prime appeared before them. A massive ring-shaped station, orbiting a blue giant star. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at its ports. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. This was the center of galactic power. Their ship was directed to a small docking bay in the outer ring. As they walked through the corridors, Ji-woo noticed other delegations being escorted to the council chambers. The tall, thin Velen with their silver skin. The crystalline Thur, who communicated through light. The insectoid Hivers with their compound eyes. All of them stared at the humans as they passed. "They're looking at us like we're animals," Tae-min whispered. "Let them look," Ji-woo said quietly. Eyes forward, back straight. "We are representatives of Earth." At the council chamber entrance, they were stopped by security. Not human security, but Krell warriors. Reptilian, 8 feet tall, with scales like armor and claws like knives. The lead guard looked down at Ji-woo with cold yellow eyes. "You wait here," the Krell guard said in broken standard. "Council is busy." Hana stepped forward. "We have an appointment." The summons said to arrive at this time. "You wait," the guard repeated, then turned his back on them. They were left in a small anteroom with no chairs, no refreshments, nothing. Through the door, Ji-woo could hear the council in session. She heard other delegations being called, entering, leaving. But the humans waited. 1 hour passed, then 2. Tae-min paced like a caged animal. Hana tried to contact the council secretariat but received no response. Jae-ho stood like a statue, his hand never far from his weapon. After 6 hours, Hana's patience broke. This is an insult. They're making us wait deliberately. I know, Ji-woo said. She had remained standing the entire time, her back against the wall, watching everything. They want us angry, tired, off balance. Don't give them what they want. Finally, after 6.5 hours, the doors opened. A small alien with purple skin gestured to them. The council will see you now. They entered the grand chamber. It was enormous, with seats rising in tiers around a central floor. Representatives from 47 species filled the seats. At the highest level sat the High Council, the 5 most powerful species in the galaxy, and in the center of that group sat Vex Thor, High Counselor of the Krell Imperium. Ji-woo and her delegation walked to the center of the floor. She could feel hundreds of eyes on her. The chamber was silent. Vex Thor stood. He was massive, even for a Krell, with deep green scales and ceremonial armor. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber. General Ji-woo of Earth, you stand accused of violating the Treaty of Outer Boundaries. Your species established mining operations in the Kepler Belt, Sector 774. This sector was under consideration for Krell expansion. Ji-woo's voice was calm and clear. Counselor Vex Thor, Sector 774 was listed as unclaimed neutral space in the coalition charts. We filed all proper documentation before beginning operations. You lie, Vex Thor said simply. The word hung in the air. Hana gasped softly. To call someone a liar in the council chambers was a serious accusation. Ji-woo reached into her uniform and pulled out a data chip. I have all the documentation here. The original charts, the filing records, the approval codes from the Coalition Survey Office. She held up the chip, but no one moved to take it. Vex's Thor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Council does not recognize human documentation. Your species is too new, too primitive. You do not understand galactic law. Laughter rippled through some sections of the chamber. Ji-woo felt her jaw tighten, but her expression remained neutral. I request permission to present our evidence to the Council, she said formally. Denied, Vex Thor replied. Humans do not have full speaking privileges. You may answer questions only. Reverend, Ji-woo looked up at him. We are members of this coalition. We have rights under the charter. The laughter stopped. The chamber grew quiet again. Vex Thor's eyes narrowed, and he began descending from his platform, moving toward Ji-woo with slow, deliberate steps. Vex Thor descended the wide steps slowly, his clawed feet clicking on the polished stone floor. Every eye in the council chamber followed him. Ji-woo stood perfectly still, watching him approach. Behind her, she heard Jae-ho shift his weight. She raised one hand slightly, a signal to her team. Stay calm. Don't move. The High Counselor stopped 3 feet from Ji-woo. Up close, he was even more intimidating. His scales were thick and scarred from old battles. His yellow eyes were cold and calculating. He looked down at her the way someone might look at an insect. You speak of rights, Vex Thor said, his voice carrying through the silent chamber. Your species has been part of this coalition for 15 years. 15. Do you know how long the Krell have been members? 3,000 years, Ji-woo replied. She had done her homework. 3,000 years, Vex Thor repeated. And in that time, we have never questioned the Council's wisdom. We have never challenged our place in the order of things. Yet you humans arrive, barely able to fly between stars, and immediately you demand. You push, you take what is not yours. Ambassador Hana stepped forward carefully. Counselor, With respect, we only ask to be treated as equals under the Charter. The Charter guarantees all member species. Silence. Vexthor snapped, not even looking at her. I am addressing your general. Hana's face flushed red, but she stepped back. Jiwoo could see her hands shaking with anger and humiliation. Vexthor turned back to Jiwoo. Your species is young. Children, really. You have no concept of the delicate balance that exists in this galaxy. The Krell maintained order in the outer sectors for centuries before you even discovered fire. And now you want to mine in our territory? It's not your territory, Jiwoo said quietly. The charts show what we say they show. Vexthor interrupted. He stepped closer. This is the lesson you need to learn. General, your species exists in this coalition because we allow it. You have rights because we grant them. You expand into space because we permit it. Everything you have comes from our generosity. Murmurs of agreement rippled through parts of the chamber. Not all species agreed, Jiwoo noticed. The Velen representative looked uncomfortable. Several smaller species seemed to shrink in their seats. But the larger, more powerful species were nodding. Lieutenant Taemin's hand moved toward his sidearm. Jiwoo caught his eye and shook her head once. Not yet, Vexthor continued his speech. Do you know why your species was admitted to the coalition so quickly? Most species wait 100 years before being considered for membership, but humanity was fast-tracked. Do you know why? Oh, Jiwoo said nothing. She suspected she knew the answer, but she wanted him to say it. Because the Krell needed soldiers, Vexthor said with a smile. We had border conflicts with the Hivers. We needed warriors who could fight in high-gravity environments. Your species was perfect, strong, aggressive, expendable. We planned to use you for our wars, then keep you under control afterward. The admission shocked the chamber. Several delegates stood up in protest. The Velen counselor called out, "This is highly inappropriate." But the High Council did nothing to stop Vexthor. But you humans didn't follow the plan, Vexthor continued. You learned too fast, adapted too quickly. Started demanding seats at the table instead of standing in the corner where you belong. So now we must remind you of your place. He reached out with one clawed hand toward Jiwoo's shoulder. It looked like a patronizing gesture, like a parent reaching for a misbehaving child. Jiwoo didn't move. She met his eyes directly, something that clearly surprised him. In Krell culture, maintaining eye contact with a superior was a challenge. She saw his pupils narrow. You dare? Vexthor hissed. You dare look at me like an equal? I am a supreme commander, Jiwoo said. You are a high counselor. We are both leaders of our peoples. Yes. I look at you as an equal. The chamber erupted. Shouts in dozens of languages filled the air. Some species were outraged at Jiwoo's boldness. Others seemed excited by the drama. The High Council called for order. But the noise continued. Vexthor's face twisted with anger. His hand, which had been reaching for her shoulder, changed direction. Fast as a snake, he struck Jiwoo across the face with the back of his clawed hand. The blow was powerful. Jiwoo's head snapped to the side. She stumbled backward 2 steps, barely keeping her feet. Blood welled up from her split lip and scratches on her cheek where his claws had caught her. The chamber fell instantly silent. Such violence had not occurred in the council chambers in 300 years. Physical assault during a council session violated every protocol, every rule, every tradition of the coalition, and yet it had just happened, in front of hundreds of witnesses. Ambassador Hana made a small, horrified sound. Taemin's hand completed its journey to his weapon, gripping the handle. Jaeho moved forward, but Jiwoo held up one hand, stopping him. Blood dripped from Jiwoo's chin onto her uniform, bright red against the dark blue fabric. She slowly straightened, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. The white glove came away crimson. Council security should have moved. They should have restrained Vexthor immediately. But the guards were all Krell. They stood motionless, waiting for orders that didn't come. Jiwoo looked at her bloody glove for a long moment. Then she looked up at Vex's Thor. Her face was completely calm, but her dark eyes held something cold and deadly. It was an expression Jeho recognized from the war. He had seen her wear it once before, right before she ordered an orbital strike on a rebel stronghold. "You struck me," Jiwoo said softly. Her voice carried clearly through the silent chamber. "I did," Vex Thor replied. He seemed satisfied, proud even. "A lesson in respect. Perhaps now you understand your place, human." Several of the stronger species in the council laughed. The Krell delegation applauded. But some of the smaller species looked frightened. They knew what it meant when the powerful could strike the weak without consequence. Jiwoo touched her lip again, feeling the split in the skin. She had been hit before. Many times. Training. Combat. The rebellion. Pain was nothing new. But this was different. This wasn't a fight. This was a public humiliation, meant to break her spirit and show all of humanity that they were inferior. Hana grabbed Jiwoo's arm. "General, please," she whispered urgently. "We need to leave. File a formal protest. Go through proper channels. Don't do anything rash." Taemin had drawn his weapon now, holding it low but ready. "Ma'am, give the order. We can fight our way to the ship." Jeho said nothing, but his massive hands were clenched into fists. He was waiting for Jiwoo's decision. The entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what the human general would do. Would she retreat? Accept the humiliation? Prove that humans knew their place? Jiwoo's hand moved to her own weapon. For a moment, everyone thought she would draw it. Vex Thor tensed, his claws extending, but Jiwoo's hand passed over her gun and fell back to her side. Instead, she stepped forward, toward Vex Thor, closer. "General, no." Hana hissed, but Jiwoo ignored her. Jiwoo looked up at the towering Krell High Counselor. Blood still dripped from her chin. Her cheek was torn. But her eyes were clear and cold. "You wanted to teach me a lesson about respect," Jiwoo said quietly. "Let me teach you one about consequences." And then she moved. Jiwoo had trained in hand-to-hand combat since she was 6 years old. First in traditional martial arts, then in military close-quarters battle, then in actual war during the Mars Rebellion. She had fought in zero gravity, in powered armor, in burning buildings and vacuum-exposed corridors. She knew exactly how much force a human body could generate, and exactly where to apply it for maximum effect. What the Galactic Council didn't know, what they had never bothered to study, was that humans evolved on a death world. Earth had gravity almost twice that of the Krell homeworld, 3 times that of the Velen world. Humans didn't just live under that crushing weight. They thrived in it. They ran marathons. They climbed mountains. They fought wars. Every human child grew up fighting against gravity that would cripple most species in the galaxy. And human bones were dense. Human muscles were layered thick. Human bodies were built like tanks compared to the elegant, graceful species that filled the council chamber. Vex's Thor outweighed Jiwoo by 200 pounds. He was 8 feet tall to her 5'6". He had claws and teeth and armor like scales. In any reasonable assessment, he should have been able to break her in half. But there was nothing reasonable about what happened next. Jiwoo moved faster than Vex Thor expected, faster than most humans could move. She had been holding back, conserving energy. But now, she released it all. Her body was a weapon, and she had just decided to use it. She stepped inside his reach, too close for him to bring his claws to bear. Her left hand shot up, grabbing the high collar of his ceremonial armor for leverage, and then her right fist, carrying all her weight, all her training, all her earthborn strength, drove into the side of Vex Thor's head. The impact point was just above and in front of his ear hole. The temple region. In humans, it was one of the thinnest parts of the skull. In Krell, Jiwoo had gambled. It would be the same. She was right. The sound echoed through the council chamber like a gunshot. A sharp, terrible crack that everyone heard. Vex Thor's head snapped to the side. His yellow eyes went wide with shock, and then his skull collapsed. Krell bones were strong for their world, for their gravity. But they had never evolved to withstand the full force of a human punch. The bone structure around Vex Thor's temple shattered like pottery. Fragments drove inward, into the brain beneath. Vex Thor dropped. His massive body hit the floor with a heavy thud. He didn't catch himself. Didn't try to break his fall. He was dead before he landed. Killed instantly by catastrophic brain trauma. For 3 full heartbeats, nobody in the chamber moved. Nobody breathed. They all stared at the impossible scene before them. The small human general standing over the fallen High Counselor of the Krell Imperium. Jiwoo looked down at her right hand. Blood covered her knuckles, though she wasn't sure if it was hers or his. Her hand throbbed. Probably bruised. Possibly broken, but she had done what was necessary. Then the chaos began. Alarms screamed throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed. The Krell delegation surged to their feet, roaring in rage. Security forces appeared from every entrance. Weapons drawn. There were at least 50 guards, all armed, all converging on the human delegation. Jae-ho and Tae-min moved instantly, forming a protective circle around Jiwoo and Hana. Tae-min had his weapon out now, tracking targets. Jae-ho had drawn his sidearm, a heavy pistol that could punch through most body armor. "Stand down!" a Krell security commander shouted. "Drop your weapons." "You stand down," Jae-ho roared back. "Your counselor struck a coalition officer." "We acted in self-defense." The chamber erupted with voices. Alien languages mixed together into a wall of sound. Some species were calling for the humans to be arrested. Others were demanding explanations. A few, the smaller species, the ones who had suffered under Krell dominance, were silent, but watchful. Ambassador Hana was pale, shaking. "General, what have you done?" she whispered. Jiwoo's voice was calm, almost gentle. "What I had to do, Hana. He struck me first," I answered. "You killed a High Counselor." "He struck a military officer of a coalition member species during a formal council session," Jiwoo replied, raising her voice so others could hear. "Under coalition law, specifically the protocols of engagement, I had the right to respond to physical aggression with appropriate force. I did so." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many delegates as she could. "All of you witnessed what happened here. Vex Thor struck me without provocation. He drew first blood. I simply responded in kind. A Velen counselor stood. Her name was Yuri, and she had always been sympathetic to humanity. The human is correct. Vex Thor violated every protocol when he struck her. She had the legal right to defend herself. She killed him," a Krell delegate screamed. "She murdered a High Counselor. He struck her," Yuri repeated firmly. "The recordings will show this clearly. Vex Thor committed assault." The human responded. "Under our own laws, she is within her rights." The security forces were getting closer. More weapons were being aimed at the humans. Jiwoo could see the situation deteriorating rapidly. In seconds, this would turn into a bloodbath. "Tae-min," she said quietly. "Your neural recorder. It caught everything?" "Yes, ma'am," he replied, not taking his eyes off the guards. "Full video and audio from all our implants. Send it to Earth. All of it. Every second of what happened here. Make sure Admiral Dongwoo gets it personally." Taemin's eyes flicked briefly to his wrist console. "Sending now. Quantum burst transmission. They'll have it in 2 minutes." Jiwoo took a deep breath, then raised her hand slowly. "For the record, and all witnesses, that I acted in lawful self-defense against an unprovoked assault. I demand that the full council review the evidence before any judgment is made." Jae-ho looked at her in disbelief. "General, you can't." "Stand down, Commander," Jiwoo ordered. "That's a direct command. Lower your weapons." "Ma'am." "Now, Jae-ho." Reluctantly, Jae-ho lowered his pistol. Tae-min followed, though his jaw was clenched tight with anger. The security forces rushed forward, surrounding the humans. Rough hands grabbed Ji-woo, forcing her arms behind her back. Energy restraints snapped onto her wrists. The same happened to her team. A Krell security commander got in Ji-woo's face, his breath hot and smelling of sulfur. "You're going to die for this, human." Slowly, painfully. "The Krell will have justice." Ji-woo looked him in the eye without flinching. "I killed one Krell who thought he could strike me without consequence. How many more want to try?" The commander's hand moved toward his weapon, but another voice stopped him. "Enough." The word came from the High Council platform. An ancient being, older than anyone in the chamber, stood slowly. This was Elder Thun of the Velen Collective, the most senior member of the council. Her silver skin gleamed in the light. "Take them to detention," Elder Thun said. "But they are to be unharmed. No interrogation. No punishment. They are held pending a full investigation. Any guard who violates this order will answer to me personally." The Krell commander looked like he wanted to argue, but even he didn't dare challenge Elder Thun. With rough hands, the security forces dragged the human delegation from the chamber. As they were pulled through the doors, Ji-woo caught one last glimpse of the council floor. Medical teams were surrounding Vex Thor's body. Some delegates were shouting. Others sat in shocked silence, and on the floor where the High Counselor had fallen, a pool of green blood was spreading slowly across the polished stone. The humans were taken deep into the station, to the detention level. They were separated into individual cells, soundproof and isolated. As the door sealed behind her, Ji-woo finally allowed herself to feel the pain in her hand. She looked down at her swollen, bloody knuckles. Then she allowed herself a small, grim smile. They had wanted to teach her a lesson. Instead, she had taught them one. And it was a lesson the galaxy would never forget. The recording reached Earth in 2 minutes and 17 seconds. It took another 8 minutes for it to reach Admiral Dongwoo's command center on Mars Station. He was in a strategic planning meeting when his aide interrupted. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately," the aide said, her face pale. Dongwoo had served with Ji-woo during the Mars Rebellion. He had been her commanding officer back then, before she surpassed him in rank. He knew her better than almost anyone. So when he saw the footage of what happened in the council chamber, he understood immediately. He watched it 3 times. The insults, the strike, Ji-woo's response, Vex Thor falling. Then he stood up and issued orders that would change the galaxy. "Full fleet mobilization," he commanded. "Every ship, every station, battle ready in 6 hours. I want the entire Terran defense fleet assembled and prepared for immediate departure." His staff stared at him. "Sir, are we going to war?" "Not if they're smart," Dongwoo replied grimly. "But we're going to be ready if they're stupid. And send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them they have 24 hours to release General Ji-woo and her delegation, or humanity withdraws from the coalition and considers all treaties void." "Admiral, that's an ultimatum." "Yes. Send it." Within 4 hours, the recording was everywhere. Every human colony, every station, every ship. Billions of humans watched their supreme commander being struck by an alien High Counselor, and they watched her strike back. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Protests erupted on Earth. Colonists on Mars demanded action. The outer settlements called for revenge. For the first time in 15 years, humanity spoke with one unified voice. Enough. But the recording didn't stay confined to human space. It leaked, as such things always do. Within 8 hours, species across the galaxy were analyzing the footage, and as they did, they began to understand something terrifying. On the Velen homeworld, xenobiologists studied the recording frame by frame. They measured the speed of Ji-woo's punch. They calculated the force of impact. They ran simulations. "This is impossible," one scientist said, staring at the numbers. "Run it again," her supervisor ordered. They ran it 5 times. The result was always the same. The human female generated approximately 4,000 newtons of force with a single punch, the scientist reported. That's equivalent to being hit by a small vehicle. And she did it with just her body weight and muscle power. The supervisor's silver skin paled. What's the average punch force for a Krell warrior? About 1,500 newtons, sir. And for our own people? 600 newtons. Sir, I don't think you understand. This human female, she's not particularly large for her species. She weighs maybe 60 kilograms, but she hits harder than a Krell warrior twice her size. The reports spread. Other species began their own analyses. They pulled up human biology data, information that had been filed away when humanity joined the coalition, information that the Krell had apparently suppressed or ignored. Earth's gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared, nearly double that of the Krell homeworld, triple that of most coalition species. Human bone density, 1.85 grams per cubic centimeter. The Krell averaged 1.2. Most species fell between 0.8 and 1.3. Human muscle fiber composition, a mix of fast twitch and slow twitch that gave them both explosive power and endurance. On Nexus Prime, emergency council sessions ran continuously. The chamber where Vexthor died was sealed as a crime scene. But the debates raged elsewhere. The Krell delegation demanded justice. The human murdered a high counselor. She must be executed, but Elder Thun of the Velen Collective held firm. Vexthor struck her first. The recordings are clear. Under the protocols of engagement, she had the right to respond. With lethal force? A Krell admiral demanded. The protocols don't specify limits on defensive force, Yuri pointed out. She had been studying coalition law all night. They only state that a member may respond to physical assault with appropriate force to end the threat. Jiwoo struck once. Vexthor fell. The threat was ended. She killed him with one punch, the Krell admiral roared. Yes, Yuri said quietly. And that's what terrifies you, isn't it? Because now you understand what humans really are. In the detention level, Jiwoo sat in her cell. Her hand was badly swollen now, purple and black with bruising. Probably multiple fractures. But she had refused medical treatment. She wanted to keep the injury visible, a reminder of what had happened. The cell was small, maybe 3 meters square, one hard bench, no windows, a force field instead of bars. She had been alone for hours, then the lights dimmed and a holographic display appeared. Admiral Dongwu's face filled the cell. Jiwoo, he said. I saw the recording. Dongwu, she replied, smiling slightly despite the pain. I hope you're not calling to lecture me. Lecture you. The entire fleet is mobilized. We're at the edge of Nexus Prime system. One word from you, and we come in shooting. Jiwoo sat up straighter. Don't. Not yet. This needs to be resolved legally. You killed a high counselor. They might execute you. They might try. Jiwoo corrected. But Elder Thun is smart. She knows the law. And she knows that if they kill me, humanity will burn this station to the ground and salt the ashes. Dongwu was quiet for a moment. The recording has changed everything. People across the galaxy are looking at humans differently now. Some with fear. Some with respect. The smaller species are calling you a hero. I'm not a hero. I just refuse to be slapped around. That's what makes you a hero to them. They've been slapped around by the Krell and other strong species for centuries. You showed them it doesn't have to be that way. A tone sounded in Jiwoo's cell. Someone's coming, she said. I'll contact you when I can. The hologram faded. A moment later, her cell force field dropped. 6 guards stood outside. But these weren't Krell. They were Velen. Elder Thun's people. General Jiwoo, the lead guard said respectfully. The council has convened a formal hearing. You are to be brought before them. And my team? They will be brought as well. Elder Thun has guaranteed your safety during the proceedings. Jiwoo stood, cradling her injured hand. Then let's go answer some questions. They escorted her through the station. Word of her movement spread quickly. Crowds gathered in the corridors to watch her pass. Some were angry, shouting insults and threats, but others were silent, watching with something that might have been respect. One small alien, barely 3 feet tall from a species Jiwoo didn't recognize, pushed through the crowd. A guard moved to stop him, but the alien just wanted to speak. "Thank you," he said in heavily accented standard. "My people have been afraid for so long. You showed us that the strong can be challenged. Thank you." Before Jiwoo could respond, the guards moved her along, but she saw more small aliens in the crowd. Watching her with hope in their eyes, they brought her to a different chamber, smaller than the main council hall. Her team was already there, standing under guard. Hana looked exhausted. Taemin had a black eye, suggesting he had resisted when they took him. Jaeho stood like a mountain, his expression dark. "Are you all right?" Jiwoo asked them. "We're fine, ma'am," Taemin said. "The question is, are you?" Jiwoo held up her swollen hand. "I've had worse." The council filed in. Not all 47 species, but the High Council and key representatives. Elder Thun took the central seat. The Krell delegation sat on one side, their faces twisted with barely controlled rage. Elder Thun's ancient voice filled the chamber. "We are here to determine the truth of what occurred yesterday. General Jiwoo, you stand accused of murdering High Counselor Vex Thor. How do you answer?" Jiwoo stepped forward. "I answer that Vex Thor struck me first. In violation of every protocol and law of this council, I responded in self-defense, as is my right under the protocols of engagement. His death was a consequence of his own actions." The Krell Admiral surged to his feet. "Lies. She murdered him in cold blood." "Then, let's watch the recording," Elder Thun said calmly. "All of it." And there, in front of the assembled council, they played the entire encounter. Every word, every moment, the insults, the strike, Jiwoo's response. The recording played 3 times. Each viewing made the truth more clear. Vex Thor had struck first. Jiwoo had responded. The law was unambiguous. Elder Thun looked at the Krell delegation. Under the protocols of engagement, established 2,000 years ago by this very council, any member of a coalition species who is physically assaulted during official proceedings has the right to respond with force necessary to end the threat. Do you dispute this? The Krell Admiral's jaw worked, but he couldn't argue with the law. "No," he finally said. But the response was excessive. One punch should not kill. Then perhaps Vex Thor should not have struck someone whose species he clearly knew nothing about. Yuri interjected. She stood and activated a holographic display. "I have spent the night reviewing human biology. With the Council's permission, I would like to present my findings." Elder Thun nodded. "Proceed." Yuri's display showed a rotating human body next to a Krell body. Earth, the human home world, has a gravitational pull of 9.8 meters per second squared. The Krell homeworld has 5.2. Most coalition species evolved on worlds between 4 and 7. Humans evolved under nearly double the gravity we consider normal. She zoomed in on the skeletal structure. Human bones are significantly denser than ours. Their muscles are layered differently, optimized for both strength and endurance. A human child has the grip strength of an adult Krell. A trained human soldier is, by our standards, a biological weapon. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some delegates were taking notes. Others looked frightened. When Vex Thor struck General Jiwoo, Yuri continued, he likely believed he was delivering a moderate blow. A slap to remind her of her place. But when she struck back, she used the full capacity of a human body optimized by millions of years of evolution on a high-gravity world. She didn't use excessive force by human standards. She simply used normal force. The Krell Admiral was shaking with rage. "You defend her? She killed a High Counselor." "I defend the law," Yuri said firmly. "And the law states she was within her rights. The fact that Vex Thor's body couldn't withstand a defensive blow is not her fault. It's his for attacking someone without understanding what she was capable of." Elder Thun raised one hand for silence. The council will now deliberate. The accused will wait outside. Jiwoo and her team were escorted from the chamber. They waited in a secure room, guards at every door. Hana paced nervously. Taemin sat with his head in his hands. Jae-ho stood by the window, looking out at the stars. "We're going to war," Hana said quietly. "Even if they rule in your favor, the Krell won't accept it. This will mean war." "Maybe," Jiwoo replied. "Or maybe it means something else." "What?" "Respect." They waited for 6 hours. Finally, the guards returned and brought them back to the chamber. Elder Thun looked older, more tired than before. But her voice was clear and strong. "The council has reached a decision. General Jiwoo, you are found to have acted in lawful self-defense. All charges are dismissed. You and your delegation are free to leave Nexus Prime." The Krell delegation erupted in protest, but Elder Thun continued speaking over them. "Furthermore, the council formally apologizes to humanity for the assault committed by Vex's Thor. As restitution, humanity is granted full speaking privileges in all council proceedings, effective immediately. The Kepler Belt mining operations are recognized as legitimate human territory, and the Krell Imperium is fined 1 million coalition credits for Vex Thor's violation of council protocols." The chamber exploded with noise. Some species applauded. Others shouted in anger. The Krell Admiral pointed at Jiwoo. "This is not over, human. The Krell Imperium will have satisfaction." Jiwoo met his gaze calmly. "The Krell Imperium is welcome to try. But I suggest you study human biology first. Learn what we're capable of. And then decide if you really want to fight us." The guards escorted the human delegation from Nexus Prime. As they walked through the corridors toward their ship, something had changed. Aliens still stared at them, but differently now. Not with contempt or amusement. With wariness. With calculation. With respect. The small alien who had thanked Jiwoo earlier appeared again. This time, dozens of his people were with him. They bowed as she passed. 3 days later, Jiwoo stood on the bridge of Admiral Dongwoo's flagship as it entered Earth orbit. The planet spread below them, blue and beautiful. "You're a hero," Dongwoo said. "The entire planet is celebrating." "I'm not a hero. I just hit back when someone hit me. That's what heroes do, Jiwoo. They stand up when everyone else is on their knees." Over the following weeks, the galaxy changed. The incident became known as the Nexus Prime event in official documents, but most people called it the day the council learned about humans. Trade routes that had been blocked for years suddenly opened to human ships. Species that had ignored human diplomatic overtures now sent ambassadors to Earth. Defense pacts were proposed. Technology exchanges were offered. The Krell Imperium withdrew from several border regions, consolidating their forces. They never formally apologized, but they stopped actively opposing human expansion. 3 months after the incident, Jiwoo was promoted to Grand Marshal, the highest military rank in the Terran Defense Forces. She stood before the assembled officers at her promotion ceremony, looking out at thousands of faces. "We live in a dangerous galaxy," she said. "There are species older than us, stronger than us in some ways. With technology we're still learning to understand. But we have something they don't. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages and supervolcanoes. We fought wars with sticks and stones, then with guns and bombs, then with ships and orbital weapons. We are survivors. We are fighters. And most importantly, we know that respect is earned, not given." She paused, looking down at her right hand. The bones had healed, but the scars remained. "I didn't want to kill Vex Thor, but I couldn't let him think humans were weak, that we could be struck without consequence. Sometimes the first lesson is the only lesson that matters, and the galaxy learned that day that humans do not bow, we do not break, and we do not forgive those who raise their hands against us." The officers erupted in applause. 10 years passed. Jiwoo was 52 now, her hair showing streaks of gray. She stood in the same council chamber where Vex's Thor had died. But everything was different. Humanity held 3 seats on the High Council now. The Krell Imperium had declined, their influence waning. The smaller species had grown bolder, demanding their rights. Emboldened by what one human general had shown them, there was a memorial plaque on the floor where Vex Thor fell. But it didn't memorialize him. Instead, it read, "Here, on this day, the principle of mutual respect was re-established. Let no member of this council forget that strength must be tempered with wisdom, and that those who strike in anger often fall by their own hand." Ji Woo stood before a new class of human officers who were being assigned to coalition joint operations. Young men and women, barely in their 20s, who had grown up in a galaxy that respected humanity. "You will serve alongside species who are different from us," she told them. "They think differently. They communicate differently. They have different values and different ways of solving problems. But you must remember one thing, above all else." She walked among them, meeting their eyes. "You represent humanity. Every action you take, every word you speak, reflects on our entire species. Some aliens will be your friends. Some will be your rivals, and some will test you, the way Vex Thor tested me. When that moment comes, you must be ready to stand firm. Not with arrogance, not with unnecessary violence, but with the absolute certainty that you will not be moved. You will not be intimidated, and you will not accept disrespect." A young lieutenant raised her hand. "Grand Marshal, what if we face a situation like yours? What if someone strikes us?" Ji Woo smiled grimly. "Then you do what I did. You respond appropriately. You show them that humans are not victims. We are equals. And equals do not strike each other without consequences." She looked around the room at their young faces. "The galaxy has learned to respect us. Your job is to make sure they never forget why." 15 years after the Nexus Prime event, humanity was one of the major powers in the Galactic Coalition. They had colonies across 50 systems. Their fleet was among the strongest. Their technology was advancing rapidly, fed by new partnerships and treaties. And across the galaxy, in military academies and diplomatic schools, the story was still taught. The human general who shattered a Krell skull with one punch. The moment when the galaxy learned that Earth's children were not to be trifled with. Ji Woo retired at 60. Finally ready to step back and let the next generation lead. On her last day in uniform, she visited the council chamber one final time. She stood over the memorial plaque, looking down at the words inscribed there. An old Velen approached her. It was Yuri, now Elder Yuri, one of the most senior members of the council. "You changed the galaxy, General," Yuri said. "I just refuse to be slapped," Ji Woo replied. "No," Yuri said gently. "You did more than that. You showed every small species, every oppressed people, that the powerful are not invincible, that sometimes standing up and fighting back is the only way to earn respect. Because of you, the galaxy is more equal now, more just." Ji Woo looked around the chamber, remembering that day. The blood, the violence, the terrible crack of breaking bone. "I've had nightmares about it," she admitted. "Killing him. Sometimes I wonder if there was another way." "There wasn't," Yuri said firmly. "Vex Thor and those like him only understood strength. You spoke a language they comprehended. And you spoke it so clearly that they never questioned it again." Ji Woo nodded slowly. "I hope the next generation never has to do what I did." "They won't," Yuri said. "Because you already did it for them. That's what it means to be a hero. General, you take the burden so others don't have to." Ji Woo left the council chamber and walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime for the last time. As she passed, aliens of every species nodded to her with respect. Some even bowed. She had come to this station as a representative of the newest, weakest member of the coalition. She left as the woman who taught the galaxy to respect humanity, and in every human child who grew up after that day, in every officer who served, in every diplomat who negotiated, there was a piece of Ji Woo's legacy. The knowledge that humans would not be pushed around, that they would stand firm, that they would fight back when necessary. The galaxy had learned, and it would never forget.